Okay? In reality, you're the grantor because you create the wealth. The government, they inherit, they get your bonded account which they trade on the stock market. They're the trustee because they manage it, and they're also the beneficiary. And of course you're the beneficiary as well because you get great benefits like prison. That's a benefit. Believe it or not, that's classed as a benefit. That's something you really give. So you become the grantor and you're the beneficiary. Yeah. So, but there are, in trust law, and it gets really murky because, you know, when I was beginning to understand, I thought, well, that seems pretty straightforward. Because then if I'm the grantor, I'm giving something, I'm putting something on the table. You know, I can say to my next, you know, Lambeth thing, and I can say to them, dear CEO of Lambeth, or dear CEO of the DVLA, from now on known as the trustee, I forgot to tell you what my terms and conditions were, because I'm the grantor. I'm giving you something, you're managing this for me. My terms and conditions are that I'm no longer compliant with the 1988 Highway Code Act. So therefore, if I get any parking tickets or anything like that, if you're the trustee, you deal with it. It doesn't come on my doorstep. And the shareholders, they're the beneficiaries, so don't bother me with this. Okay, so that would be trust law. But trust law can't be dealt with in a commercial court. One of the instances is, and it really takes it up. Again, I've got some information if you guys want to do it. It's a real slog to read through some of this stuff, but there are a few guys that have got videos out that make it more tangible, so you can understand it more. But basically, it's what's come to my knowledge now is there's things called a discretionary trustee. For example, if you say, all right, my birth was registered and my bond was created. Well, that's my bond, it's in my name, that's my property, I'm the grantor. The government are then the trustee, they're managing that, they're trading on it. Apparently, allegedly, some people reckon it's worth 170 grand a quarter. That's what it pays on the open stock markets. And so you say, well, there's the terms and conditions. You keep 50% of it to govern, and I'll have 50% of it. Thanks very much. And there are people who are trying to get this together, but of course, the guys that are running things, you're talking about the most ducky-divey, slippery. They've been doing it for years. And they don't want you to know about this stuff. So, but the thing is, the way I look at it is really simply. If I went to Las Vegas and I had a system to beat the wheels, are they really going to let me leave Las Vegas with all the dollars in my pocket? Of course they're not. I'll end up in the desert somewhere.
Alan, do they start making money on the bonds as soon as you're born, or is it when your national insurance is registered or issued?
When the bond comes in, there's a certificate. Certificate means there's something created. Presumably that's when it's activated. I know that that bond can last up to 2 years after your death. It can still be traded on there. Yeah, that's quite surprising. I found that out. So even though you're dead, because someone else can claim it. Because remember, like the aristocracy, all these guys, they know this stuff. Because what happens is the bond is created, but at the age of 7, up until the age of 7, you can go and collect that. But the government say, oh, you didn't collect it, and that your vessel in commerce was lost at sea. So you're presumed lost at sea, you're presumed dead. So the government say, oh, well, we'll become the trustee of this and we'll trade it. The fact that you're paying tax and they know for sure you're alive, they're not going to do it because it deals with another personality in the organisation. And you have to actively get that. But of course, if you're a member of the aristocracy and they tell you all this kind of stuff, you don't let the government have your bond, you have it.
So I can get that for my grandchild, can I?
You can. And your spouse can get it. You know, if you die and you're the breadwinner, there's a way you can get access to that bond, you know, to help you out because you've got a connection to that. That's the way it should be. You know, and in terms, that's the way it works on trust. It's supposed to work on trust. That's the point. The origins of it, basically, of trust law, kind of went way back to the Crusaders. Whereas, say I'm the landowner, I'm the knight, you know, and I've got to go and fight off in the Crusades for God or for the corporation, you know, and I'm on my trusty horse and everything. And I say to you, listen, bro, I trust you. can you look after all my property for me until I get back? In other words, you're not going to own it, but you're going to be the trustee. You're going to look after it, you're going to manage it for me. You're going to make sure all my serfs and peasants and all the rest of it are taken care for. And if anything happens to me, you know, we've got an agreement. And the other thing I can tell you, you know, I knocked up. I don't want the missus knowing about it, but can you make sure she's all right as well? It's all trust. That's trust. So you do that. And it's not done in public. It's not done in public. It's not done in a public court like a commercial court. It's not done like that at all. In fact, there's a way you go through it. You've got an instance that you want to make into a trust. You can change it. You have to say, if it's something dealing with the council or something commercial, and you're in a commercial court setting, you have to basically say this. You say, Your Honour, to the judge, you've already consented. You say, I believe whatever it is, the claimant or the defendant has got dirty hands. You bring in this, it's an ancient thing, it's called dirty hands. In other words, what he's bringing is dirty, you know, and which the judge has then got to close the commercial court, and he will then have both parties in a private thing, and all the legalese goes out the window. It just becomes like plain speaking, and it's like, right, what are you saying? You're saying this guy's the trustee, and you're the grantor. In other words, in the same way, like I was saying, like Lambeth or the DVLA, and they're trying to say, I went to the DVLA and they're trying to do me for like a speeding fine or something like that. The guy's got dirty hands, because I'm the grantor, he's the trustee, and I told him to do this. I gave him notice, here's the notice. I put the notices up, you can put them up in churches, that's where the notice board goes. That I now call him the trustee, and I said I wasn't going to go along with the 1980 Act, Highway Code Act. And now he's asked me to appear in the court, and I'm liable for the speeding ticket, which is part of an act, and I haven't consented to it. And he's in breach of trust. He's got dirty hands. I trusted him with this, in the same way that I trusted you not to tell that I knocked up that girl, and you've gone and done it and blown it up for me. Now I've come back. You know, you're a breach of trust. So the judge goes, well, we do this in private. It's not in public. It's all done in private. That's where the trust thing. And there's another thing. It's called discretionary trust. These guys are very canny in so much as I know there's some guys that have tried to get access to their bond. Some of them have got access to it, but some of them haven't. So what I want you to think about is little rats in a maze. They press a little button, and sometimes they get a peanut, or a monkey, and sometimes they don't. But they keep hanging around that little, well, they're not going to stray too far from that, so that keeps them in the maze. Because somebody got something from that, so I'll hang about there. They want to get out of it, and that's the way that process works. So, yeah.
I have a question, two things actually.
So you'll have to speak up on
with the unregistering of a child. Now, if let's say up to the age of 7, you can unregister a child. You go back to the registry office and say, I want to unregister a child. You go through the process. Okay, fair enough. What happens then?
right.
Does that child can get a passport, or do I have to make a passport for it?
Deregistration, right, is a big thing. The first thing is to deregister. They put you in their ballpark. In other words, you're in legislation. You're in commercial law. Because you're dealing with something that's commercial, which is the bond. All right, so you're completely out of your depth.
Right.
So then you've got to pay for someone to represent you to get that bond. Cha-ching. Unless you want to try and do it as a lay advisor, they're not going to hear it. The bond is something that's commercial, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the way you're going to try it and do it, a good case would be that your child would have to do it and say, well, I wasn't party to this contract. I didn't know. Although this is in my name, who's decided to use my name?
This is what I think, if anything, I'm going to go to my parents. It's not my company. It's not my name.
Yeah, but it's the name of the person, and it's linked with you.
I never signed for it.
Exactly. So technically, it's a fraud. You know, because I mean, for example, when police says to you, "What's your date of birth?" You say, "Well, allegedly, I don't know, because I've been told, but I was just a kid. I was screaming away. You know, how am I supposed to know when I was born?"
Because it's hearsay, and that's inadmissible in court.
Exactly. It's
Hearsay.
So what happens if you've got two surnames?
Well,
Because I have got two surnames, but I only use one.
are they on two birth certificates? You've got two birth certificates?
I've got two different birth certificates.
Well, then you can do a bit of juggling.
No, it's not. I've got another one. When I had an instance one time at a party.